I just watched a documentary featuring a man graduating high school who could not read. Then he graduated from college and he still couldn't read. Then he became a teacher and was a teacher for several years and he still couldn't read.
For a very long time, I took literacy for granted. I assumed everyone was like me, that everyone was a reader. And when I would meet people who weren't, I thought they were the anomaly. I thought something was wrong with them. I would judge people who didn't read. I would judge potential romantic partners who didn't read. I would judge other adults who said that they didn't read. I grew up in a home full of books. My dad was a voracious reader. I grew up with scholastic book fairs, Book It. I grew up with reading as fundamental. Reading to me seemed natural. I carried this attitude for most of my adult life. I've worked in restaurants for a long time, and I've experienced many people who won't read the menu. They'll ignore it. They won't touch it. If you put it in front of them and say, you are free to look at the menu, I can give you some time to look at the menu, they won't look at it. They'll ignore it. They want you to read everything on the menu to them. They want you to describe every menu item. And I was always really irritated by that, and I just assumed they were lazy or were too good to read the menu. A couple years ago, I was waiting on this man who was doing that to the extreme. He wanted me to go over almost every single menu item with him. And he kept saying, I heard you have this items. I heard you have this. Someone told me you have this. Tell me about this. This is what I heard. And our menu has two sides. One is the food, and then one is wines by the bottle. And so when I would say, sir, it is on the menu if you'd like to take a look, he would flip the menu from the food side to the wine side, and his eyes would just kind of be roving, and his finger would kind of trace like random lines. And I thought it was odd at first, but then I was like, well, maybe he's trying to decide what wine he wants with his entree. So it kept going. 8 items, 9 items. Every time I try to leave, he'd say, well, just hold on, one more. Just tell me about this. And I was starting to get frustrated because, while I'd been standing there, I had been sat like 3 or 4 tables and I needed to check on them. And so finally I said, sir, I do need to check on these other tables. I am happy to come back and answer any more questions you have if you just give me a few moments. And he said, okay, I'm sorry. I just have one more question, just one more item. So he asked me about this item. We'll say, it was a steak entree. And he says, can you just tell me about the such and such steak? So I flipped the menu back over to the entree side, and I put my finger just in the general area of entrees. And I said, sir, it is listed here under entrees. If you'd like to take a few moments to read it, and I can come back and answer any questions. And he says, no, can you just tell me about what comes with it? So at this point, I'm very irritated, and I just essentially read the menu description, roasted potato, veg, blah, blah, whatever it is, right? And as I'm doing this, he's looking at another entree a few lines down and is tracing his finger under the description of that entree, but repeating what I'm saying, even though it's a completely different entree that comes with completely different size. Right? So I'm saying, mashed potatoes, roasted asparagus, side of so-and-so. And the other entree does not come with those things, but he's saying, okay, mashed potatoes, okay, roasted so-and-so. But he's doing it as if he's reading that on that other menu item. And that's when it hit me that he can't read, that this man is asking all these questions because he can't read. That experience completely changed my perspective. And now I try to assess these situations before I cast judgment. Of course, there are people who are lazy and think they're above reading the menu and want you to read it to them because they believe you were their servant. I can suss those people out pretty quickly now. But I have grown to recognize those who are illiterate or are barely literate, right? And my heart really goes out to them. Trying to navigate this world, not being able to read, has to be hard in ways that I can't imagine. And once you do some research and learn and read about the adult illiteracy rates in this country, it will blow your mind. It's heartbreaking. And I think it's only going to get worse. These school systems are getting worse. They are failing these children. And I think that's by design, because if you can't read, you can't learn. And if you can't learn, you won't know. And if you don't know, then you don't have any power.